Good afternoon. Oleh, can you see and hear us? Yes, I can see and hear you very well. Welcome to stage 2 of the selection for the HQCJ. Your interview will be conducted by all members of the Commission. Let me introduce them. What's happening with the video? We're having a technical glitch. Excuse me for a moment, please. Something is happening to the video. It's glitching. Can we fix this? It seems to be okay now. So, all of the members of the Commission are present. Let me introduce them. Yevhen Mezintsev, Ivan Mishchenko, Ted Zarzhechny, Serhiy Varlanov, Stephen Markman, and Robert Brugheisen. The rapporteurs for your interview are Ted Zarzhechny and Yevhen Mezintsev. Should your interview be interrupted for any reason, caused by an air raid alert or power outage and loss of internet connection, we will resume it from the point where we stopped. We kindly ask you to be very precise when answering our questions, and the Commissioner asks you a question has the right to limit the duration of your answer. The interview will start with us giving you the floor for self-introduction. You will be given a chance to tell us about your motivation, what inspired you to participate in this competition, and what are your ideas about the work of HQCJ, the judiciary, etc. With this, I am passing the floor to Yevhen and Ted.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Dubynskyi. My name is Ted Zarzhechny. I'm a member of the Selection Commission. Mr. Dubynskyi, as you are perhaps aware, you have provided us with a considerable amount of information. You have provided us with an autobiography, together with your motivation letter, letters of reference, and we have additionally acquired information, as you know, from a number of the supporters of the Selection Commission, and that includes NABU, NACP, civil society, together with other information. So we have a reasonably full picture of your circumstances, sir. We know, of course, that you are 40 years of age. You are a person highly trained in the law. You have a doctoral degree in law. And from your autobiography, we understand that the bulk of your work has been in the academic field. And in particular, you have held lectureships, professorships. You have been head of the Department of Law at the Admiral Makarov National University Shipbuilding in Mykolaiv. You have been the Dean of Law, Faculty of Maritime Law, Vice President, and you are currently working as a professor for that university. You are a family man, you are married, and you have 2 children. That's just by way of your introduction to the rest of our viewers. Now, Mr. Dubynskyi, I want to, and if I call you Professor Dubynskyi, I invite you, please, to take the introductory period for your comments, your self-introduction, and your motivation for seeking to be appointed a member of the High Qualification Commission.
Thank you. I was born in 1983. I'm 39, actually. I started my career working for private companies. That was back in 2005. In 2004, I graduated from the university where I'm currently working, getting a bachelor's degree in law. Then I got my diploma of specialist in Kyiv at the Bar Academy, from which I graduated in 2005, and I started working back in 2005. It appears to me that there is something happening with the video. It's glitching again, but we can hear you. So could you please stop for a moment so that we have this fixed?
Добрий день ще раз. Бачите,
Good
чуєте
afternoon
нас?
once again. Can you see and hear us?
Пане Олеже,
Олег,
бачите, чуєте?
can you see and hear us?
Очевидно, що ні.
Apparently not.
Зараз відновлюється зв'язок.
So we are trying to restore the connection. So
Спробуємо зараз. Пане Олеже.
let's give it another try. Oleg, can you see and hear us? Yes, 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 I can.
Треба наказати чудово.
We shouldn't be saying great prematurely. Apparently, that jinxed the whole thing.
Так, ніби зв'язок є.
Okay, it appears that we have restored the connection.
Я можу продовжувати?
Can I continue?
Так, будь ласка.
Yes, yes, you're welcome.
Дякую.
Thank you.
У 2005 році я закінчив
In
Академію адвокатури України.
2005, I graduated from the Bar Academy in the city of Kyiv and started my career working for different commercial companies. And in 2006, I was offered the position of a lecturer. At the time, it was labor and administrative law.
Так, моя трудова діяльність йшла до 2000.
And this is what my career has been up until
Так. Як зараз?
Okay. How's the connection now? I can see and hear you. How about you? Yes, we can see you perfectly well. Let's hope that time is a charm.
Правильно, якщо ви почнете спочатку.
I think it would be right if you started from the very beginning, if you don't mind. So you're welcome.
Я Дубинський Олег Юрійович.
So my name is Oleh Dubynskyi. I was born in 1983. In 2004, I graduated from the National Admiral Makarov Shipbuilding University with a bachelor's degree in law. Then for another year, I studied at the Bar Academy of Ukraine, from which I graduated in 2005 with a diploma of specialist in law. Since 2005, I started working for commercial entities. Those were different commercial entities. I worked for one of such entities until 2008, and for the next one between 2008 and 2010, and then in between 2010 and 2012 there was the third commercial entity. But since 2008 I started working at the university at the same time. I started lecturing actually in 2006. It was administrative and labor law. It was a discipline which included two disciplines actually, administrative and labor law, and I lectured not for lawyers. And then in 2008 I was invited as a lecturer, and I started lecturing for lawyers already, for law students. I presented my PhD thesis on administrative law, financial and information law. My PhD thesis is dedicated to control in the government authorities, and I presented my thesis on the 13th of October of 2013. Then I was invited by our rector to become head of the Department of Legal Studies. I agreed, and I became the head of the department in 2013. In 2017, the rector approached me again with an offer, and he actually suggested that it was time for us to set up a new faculty. So in 2017, we created the Faculty of Maritime Law. It's the only maritime law faculty in Ukraine. I was the first dean, and the faculty was made up of 3 departments, and we had 2 labs by our faculty. The legal clinic, which was later recognized one of the best one, and we had a criminology lab, which we created from scratch. Towards the end of 2018, on October the 12th to be exact, the new rector, we had the elections of the new rector in 2018, so the new rector, who used to be the vice rector before that, and it was really nice that he was elected the rector. So this new rector invited me to become the vice rector for scientific, economic, and legal issues. And since 2018, I've been the vice rector at the National Shipbuilding University, named after Admiral Makarov, and it's practically a unique university, not only for Ukraine, but also for all the post-Soviet countries. So that's practically everything I want to tell you about myself. It should also be added that I have a number of awards, and in 2021, by the decree of the President of Ukraine, I was awarded this prize, which is the Honorary Teacher of Ukraine. I was member of 2 specialized scholarly councils, which are present during the presentation of PhD dissertations. I'm active in my public stance. I also work with a number of other teachers and professors. We have up to 1,800 professors, up to 8,000 students at our university, not just in Mykolaiv, but in other cities and towns of Mykolaiv region. We have up to 1,300 foreign students studying at our university. So what I'd like to tell you that during my time being head of the department, dean of the faculty, and vice rector of the university, I have acquired a sufficient amount of knowledge to move to a different level, to a level where I can already apply this knowledge, not just while teaching our students, not just in the interaction with other teachers and professors. I do believe I can use this knowledge while selecting others, while being present during exams for those people who would like to become judges of, let's say, different levels of courts: trial courts, appellate courts, courts of cassation. So I would like to have this new type of fulfillment in a different area. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Dubynskyi. I listened with interest to your biography, both as we have it and as you have now further explained it. I would like to know from you, Professor Dubynskyi, what experience you have working in or with the courts and experience with respect to the work of judges.
Thank you for this question. Can I start answering?
Yes, please.
Yes, of course. Since 2018, I've been an active member of the Scholarly and Advisory Council by the Supreme Court of Ukraine. So while I was working for different commercial entities, we always worked with lawyers, attorneys at law, who represented our interests in court. And of course, I have a first-hand experience of working with the courts. And now, because of the position that I'm currently occupying, I'm working with the legal service of the university where I'm working. This is the type of experience that I have with the courts. Because I cooperate with the legal service, I'm aware of all the information. I know about the relations that we have with our counter agents, and we discuss this information, we process it. So this is the kind of experience that I have with the judiciary.
Do you ever, sir, go to court? Or do you ever participate in any education for judges?
Thank you for the question. Well, I've been to court as an individual, but only twice throughout my entire life. This had to do with me personally. As far as the training of judges is concerned, I've never been involved in that.
I see. As you know, Professor Dubynskyi, part of the information that we receive to evaluate candidates is deals with the issue of integrity as defined by Article 95, paragraph 21 of the law respecting the judiciary and the status of judges. And it defines the criteria of integrity, and a good portion of that law requires us to examine the assets, that is to say, the property of a candidate. And so you know, of course, that we have sent you two series of questions to clarify some of the issues with respect to the property information that we have received. And I thank you for the answers so far. But there are still questions that relate to that area of our responsibility. And so I'm going to ask you those questions to see whether or not we can get all of the information that we require. So if I may begin, and I will be assisted by my colleague rapporteur, Judge Mezentsev. But first of all, in your answer to the commission, you advised that in 2021, you received a residential building of 357.2 square meters and a land plot of 422 square meters as a gift from your father. Now, in your 2021 declaration, there were two items that you did not apparently complete. You did not report this as a gift in the gift section of the declaration, as is required, as I have been advised. And secondly, you did not indicate the value of this property. Can you please explain if that is the case? And secondly, why you did not, in these sections of your declaration, complete the declaration as required?
Thank you for the question. Can I start answering?
Yes, as soon as I stop, please feel free to answer the question.
Thank you. The thing is that when I was filling out the declaration, and I'm going to be frank here, I didn't know that. It's the first time that I'm hearing that I should be declaring gifts. Since I was transferred the right of ownership in 2021, it was a gift agreement from my father, and I indicated this gift agreement in the declaration. Why did I not indicate the value? Well, there is the price indicated in the gift agreement, and frankly speaking, I saw the price in the agreement when I was sending you additional documents, because I did not check the value. And the value is indicated there from the words of my father. We did not do any appraisal of the property. But when I was filling out the declaration, I indicated real estate. And there was this section value of the real estate or price of the real estate. And I did not indicate that because I got it free of charge. And probably that was my mistake. I'm telling you as it was. So my thinking was as follows, that if I was indicating the price, it would mean that I paid something for the house, and that wasn't the situation. I did not pay anything, even for the gift agreement itself. So probably that was my mistake, not indicating the price that was mentioned in the gift agreement, and that was 200,000 hryvnias.
Yes, and while we were at your declaration of 2021, you also indicated that you acquired yet another non-residential premises, a premises of 90 square meters, 24.1 square meters as well, again, further as a gift from your father. So these are three properties now that you received as a gift of 4 properties, including the land plot. Again, you did not indicate this as a gift in the gift section of the declaration. And again, you did not declare the value. And again, perhaps you could provide your explanation, please.
Thank you. Yes. I can explain this as well. The thing is that prior to 2021, well, I was filling out my first declaration back in 2019 because I was appointed the vice rector in October 2018. Before that, I was not gifted anything, and my father did not gift me anything. But in 2021, it was the decision of my parents to use some of the property that they have acquired back in 2013 or in 2020, in 1998, in 2002. So they have different assets. And they decided that they wanted to gift some of their assets to me. There is also some real estate that they gifted to my younger brother. And it was my first time filling out a declaration in which I could indicate gifts. And I do acknowledge that I did not declare the gifts in the relevant section. And it was my mistake because I didn't know that I was supposed to do that. But I did indicate the gifts. I did not indicate the price because the situation here is identical to the one with the house and the land plot. It was one gift agreement for non-residential premises with the area of 24 square meters and 90 square meters. So there were 3 gift agreements in total, and the prices indicated there were indicated from the words of my father, and I already saw the prices when I sent you the additional documents with the explanation. So since I did not pay anything for these assets, I decided I should not indicate any price. It was my logic. So I thought that me indicating the price would create a misconception of me buying the real estate, which I got free of charge as a gift, and I did not even pay for the gift agreements concluded.
I see. Let's continue in this area. In 2020, your wife received premises in Odessa from a person by the name of Marco Puzis, P-U-Z-I-S. Again, this was not declared, this property, in your declaration as a gift. And again, you did not indicate the value. So I have the same question that I have already asked you with respect to the gifts that you received from your parents. I have 2 questions. One is, who is Marco Puzis, the donor of the gift? And secondly, what are the circumstances that this individual would give your wife a gift of the premises in Odessa?
Thank you for the question. Well, the premises are also indicated in my declaration for 2020. But again, I didn't know that I need to indicate it as a gift. I mean, in the section gifts. I didn't indicate that this is the gift. I didn't indicate the value for the same reason. So the value of those premises is known to me. And there was even an appraisal made of this premises, but I didn't indicate the value of the premises for the same reason as the one that I explained before. As far as I understood, if I indicated the value, that would have meant that we had bought the premises while we had not. This person is a relative of my wife. This Marco Puzis is the relative of my wife. And before getting married with me, my wife, when she lived in her house with her parents, got the premises, and the premises actually were bought long ago. and there was some agreement between them that this person took some borrowings from my wife and her parents, and then he partially kind of gave this borrowing back in the form of those premises. So that's the way she was given this gift. That was their agreement. This is a small premises, just 50 square meters, semi-vault, semi-basement, but they agreed to that. I was not in any way involved in that. These were some agreements related to the period when we were not yet married, until it had happened before 2008. That's the only thing I can answer.
Yes, but your wife received this premises and became the owner in 2020, not 2008. Is that correct?
Yes, that's true. But I mean that before that, there had been several years when they were trying to settle some financial issues, and they finally settled this issue in 2020. It was decided that they would close the issue of those borrowings made in 2020, and that's why the premises were donated, were given as a gift to my wife. It was related to her relationship and her parents' relationship with this person before our marriage.
And again, I note, I've been informed that once again you did not declare the value of this gift received by your wife, even though it, according to what your explanation is provided, it was part payment of a debt. Can you explain?
Зрозумійте, будь ласка, я поясню ще раз.
Okay, let me explain it once again. We all learn something, learn by doing. That was my mistake. I was absolutely sure that if I indicate the value of some property for which I have not paid any money, this would automatically mean that this is the property that I have acquired myself. And there will be the amount of money which I paid, but this was not the case. And neither the property granted by my father or the property granted to my wife were not bought, and that's why that was my mistake. I didn't indicate the value because I thought that if I hadn't purchased it, I didn't have to indicate the value. I got ownership on a free of charge basis. That's the case. This was my mistake. I now acknowledge this mistake. I could have indicated, because I knew what the value of the property was. I had the appraisal value of it. My wife came to me, told to me that I've got the deed of donation and I've got the agreement for this. But when we started filling out the declaration, it was indicated the property you own. And I indicated the property I own. I didn't conceal anything. I indicated all the property I really own. But I didn't indicate the value of these things because I thought that in case I indicate the value, this means that that is the money I and my wife have paid for it. But we didn't pay anything. So that was my mistake.
Now, just to understand, because I've received your answer on these kinds of issues now 3 times. You did not complete the gift section for all of these properties received by you and your wife, but as I understand it, the gift section, if you had completed it, requires the value of the gift to be declared. So if you did not complete the gift section, perhaps it is understandable that you did not complete the value because of, that is what the declaration requires. Is that not correct?
Right. And now let me tell you that I'm really grateful to the selection commission and to the people who have finally pointed out the gaps which I faced. I faced not only this problem, I've also faced some other problem. In 2010, I left one commercial enterprise. I wrote an official statement that I was going to leave that enterprise, but in all the registries by 2022, I was registered still as the head of this enterprise. And finally, I went to the state registrar asking to remove me from being registered at the head of that enterprise. And the same happens here with the gifts. I thought that I indicated all property items I had paid money for. So that was just my mistake. My mistake in filling out this declaration, and not that I was trying to hide something away or not to show something for people not to see that. That was not the case.
All right, my last question, Professor, and it deals still with property. In 2021, we have been receiving information that says that your wife purchased a 2016 Volkswagen Passat. You provided a copy of the sale and purchase agreement for that car, which shows that the car was purchased in August of 2021. You did not declare your wife's ownership of this vehicle in your 2021 declaration. And again, can we have your explanation about that, please?
Yes. Thank you for the question. So, here is the situation with this Volkswagen. It was purchased not by us, but some other people in the US and brought here for restoration purposes. We wanted to replace our car with that car. We had an agreement about this with my wife, because we have 2 children and we wanted to have a better car. And we finally got this opportunity to sell the car of my wife. And that car is indicated in my declaration. We sold it. It was Mazda of 2008, Mazda 3 to be more specific. So we sold it at 200,000 hryvnias. Then we had some negotiation with some people concerning this Volkswagen Passat of 2016 that was brought from the US. We made the agreement that 200,000 hryvnias will be given by us to those people as the cost of this car, but the agreement was that they would restore this vehicle, repair it, and give it to my wife. After that, we would additionally pay to them 75,000 hryvnias. So that was actually the difference between Mazda and Volkswagen. I mean that we sold Mazda at 200,000 and we bought Volkswagen at 275,000. So 75,000 were to be given to these people after they repair the car and we re-register the car. It so happened that in August 2021, I had a business trip, and then I was in hospital. And they gave a call to my wife, and said, well, these are some acquaintances of ours, not some strange people. So they gave her a call and asked her to have this re-registration of the car right at that moment in Mykolaiv region. My wife didn't pay attention to that. She just went there and re-registered the car. But the money and the car was given to us only in 2022, in February. It was our agreement that they would need about 4 or 5 months to repair this car. That's why we got it in February. And to tell the truth, came not as a very pleasant surprise to me, because I, of course, wanted to indicate this vehicle. But the difference between the car sold and the car bought was 75,000 hryvnias. So this is the money that we can actually afford to spend on the replacement of our family vehicle. So that's why we had such a situation. I hope that I have explained why it happened so. I didn't give any agreement. And actually, nobody asked me to, because I didn't need to give any consent for the sales or for the acquisition of the car. It so happened, and this is what my answer is like.
All right, Professor Dubynskyi, I'm going to ask my colleague, rapporteur, Judge Mezentsev, to ask you any questions that he may have.
Thank you, Justice. Доброго дня, пане Олеже.
Good afternoon, Oleg. I'm Mr. Mezentsev, and let me continue with the round of questions. Let me remark it once again that you are the first professor of maritime law we have to deal with, because all the other researchers and scientists have been experts in criminal law among our candidates. And let me stress once again that I've already done it many a time at our interviews, that we have to be really attentive to the way you fill your declarations. And this is not just because we are so scrupulous, but because we are afraid that the wrong procedure of filling your declaration will lead to dismissal of a member of the HQCJ from the position later. And we wouldn't like to lose a candidate whom we recommend. And of course, we wouldn't like to have any things like that, because they could influence the judiciary and its reputation. That's why we keep asking such questions, even if we already have your written explanations to them. We need to explain all this, to hear all this in the public interview. So here is another issue. In the declarations which you filled starting with 2018, you indicated the place of registration of your own. You did not indicate the grounds on which you used this property. What could you explain on that point? Thank you for the question. The place of registration which I indicated in the declaration, this is the place of registration since the age of 13, and actually the place of registration at the age of 39 is the same. I'm registered in the house of my parents. In 2018, I filled the declaration, and my declarations were verified, and there were no claims that something was wrong with my filling of the declarations. That's why I didn't change the place of my registration. That is the place where I got registered in 1996, and it keeps being the same. I'm still registered in the house of my parents. At the same address, my wife and 2 of my minor children are registered. Clear. And why didn't you indicate the grounds for using, for example, free of charge usage of your parents? This would be enough for us not to have a question like that. Well, you know, my first declaration came in 2019. That was the first time when I filled the declaration. My parents also live in this house. I couldn't say that I was just using it together with my wife and my children. In 2018, when I filled my first declaration, since the end of 2018, I mean, since the moment of time when I became the vice rector, this is the house where My grandmother, who is already a deceased person, lived there, and I didn't pay attention to this fact. This is just the place of my registration. So you have not been using these premises, in fact, for residence purposes. Have you been using the premises where you registered, or was it just a formal place of registration, the house of your parents? I wrote that I was registered there because I lived in the apartment of my wife. I was not using the house. Here is another point related to property issues. In 2021, you purchased a Ford Ranger of 2017, and we actually asked you this question, the question about its value. And you have to agree that the cost of re-registration of this car, it was 150,000 hryvnias, actually shows that it's a very low value, and even now in the Ukrainian market, such car costs much more. The cheapest one could cost $13,000. So could you give any explanations about this cost of this value of the car? Yes, thank you. Of course, I can give some explanations. So Ford Ranger was purchased by me in 2021 from a legal entity. The legal entity that sold the car to me had its balance value. And according to this balance value at which the legal entity sold this vehicle to me, was the value at which I actually bought it. You know, there are some tricky points when the legal entities are using their cars and the balance value of their cars. First of all, legal entities that pay VAT, when they buy the car, the state gives back to them 20% of the cost of this vehicle. This refers to all legal entities who acquire some cars for them. And every year, this legal entity has this vehicle depreciated, and it uses the car according to the needs of the legal entity. So 4 years later, the value of this, the balance value of this car was 150,000 hryvnias. And this was the value at which I was offered this car, and I bought it, which means that you didn't pay anything in cash. No, I didn't pay additionally any cash for that. I had to repair the car later, and there were a lot of issues with this car, but I understood that I would have to repair this car. The point is that this car was used by many people within this legal entity, and you know, when there is not one single person who is always using the car, there will be problems with repairing the car, but I found it fine for me. Clear. So you have declared the income over the recent 5 years. It's about 3 million hryvnias. 1 million hryvnias is the income of your wife declared, and 300,000 is of some material assistance. Am I right? Yes. So you think that, in fact, all this income is enough to buy the property you have at your disposal. Do I get you right? Well, thank you for the question, of course. It's a tricky question, I would say. The point is that the property I have at my disposal, or rather a part of this property, has been donated to us. A part of the property has been bought. Yes, but you have informed us about that. Yes. Okay, so let's go over to the issue of political neutrality. In case the Commission has some concerns, we ask questions, and these questions are not always pleasant. So concerning you, you have declared in your motivation letter, and there is some information coming from outsiders on this, that in 2010, 2014, you were a member of the Front of Changes party, And this is the party of the centrist wing. And the centrist party created by the pro-ruling party, that's what the former Prime Minister, Mr. Yatsenyuk. Besides that, late in 2014, 2018, you were a member of the party Petro Poroshenko's bloc, and it's clear from the name who was the leader of the party. Let me clarify the following. Taking into account the fact that it is not possible for a member of the HQCJ to keep to any political principles, to hold any political positions, and it's impossible for a member of the QCJ to show some political engagement. Could you please tell us now, what relationship do you currently have with the above parties, and are you in any way involved in the activity of the above political movements? Thank you for the question. In 2010, the Front of Changes was not a ruling party. It was the party that was just established as a party, came into the mainstream, and it actually offered all young people who volunteered to become its members. The people who had some visions and who wanted their visions to be heard. I was 27 back then, and I thought that probably that would be a good chance for me. It would be the right choice to join this party. Maybe somebody will hear my vision, my ideas. I'll be able to convey my messages, to convey my ideas, to present them officially. That was 2010, and I joined the Front of Changes party. I was a member of this party, but in 2014, I did not enter myself the Petro Poroshenko's bloc, but due to the fact that the leader of the party Front of Changes passed the decision that this party is to be united, to merge with the Petro Poroshenko's bloc, we were all informed that we, as the members of this party, were to join Petro Poroshenko's bloc. I was actually fine about this, and I even wrote the application for my joining Petro Poroshenko's bloc. Why this happened? Because that was the only person back then, over the whole history of Ukraine, who became the president of Ukraine in the first round of presidential elections. So I hope that probably some changes for the better would come, and there would be some improvements, and I would also be able to convey my messages. I was already the head of the department. I had some civil standpoint, and I wanted it to be heard. But there were also some things which probably I will not mention now, that I saw from an absolutely different angle. That's why I passed the decision even before 2018, but somehow I couldn't leave that party in 2017, but in 2018 I finally did it. There were some things like there is nobody in the office, you cannot apply for leaving the party now, or something like this, some minor things. But in 2018, I finally left the party, and now I'm not a member of any party. So since 2018, I've not been a member of any party, and I don't want to become a member of any party after that experience of mine. This political experience was enough for me. Clear. And in 2020, you were also a candidate to the local council. Could you please specify how did you do this, from what party or whatever? In 2020, I was not a member of any party, and just as a citizen of Ukraine, on the basis of the law which we had then and which we have now, I was entitled to participate in the election as a person not belonging to any party. Or I could also run for the election from some party. And I decided to participate in the election for the regional council from the party, the servant of the people, but I was not a member of this party. That was the law then, that I could actually go to the election from that party, not being a member of that party. Okay, it's clear. But yesterday, one thing happened. The new composition of the High Council of Justice supported the concept of development of the anti-corruption program, in particular the draft state anti-corruption program for the next 3 years, 2023-2025. At the same time, this program includes a rather interesting novelty. The fact is that any negative opinion of the Public Integrity Council can be rejected only in case there is a joint meeting of the Public Integrity Council and the High Qualifications Commission of Judges of Ukraine. And for it to be rejected, there should be voting, and more than half of those present at the meeting should vote in favor. So this means that the majority of the Public Integrity Council should also vote in favor of rejection of this negative opinion. Do you think that this is a novelty that will improve the positions of the Public Integrity Council, or does it mean that the position of the High Qualifications Commission will become weaker as a result of that, because it will not be able to pass independent decisions related to the issues of giving opinions concerning the opinions of the Public Integrity Council? Thank you for the question. Well, first of all, I have not yet got acquainted. I have heard about the meeting of the High Council of Justice. I have heard that they have passed this draft strategy, but I'm not yet got acquainted with this draft. But I think that the High Qualification Commission of Judges of Ukraine should pass its decisions on its own. Clear. Please, could you tell us, suppose you are elected a member of the HQCJ, you will be facing the task of implementing assessment of judges, or rather judicial candidates, right? So this will be the task of selection and assessment of judicial candidates, because you will need to give some new, fresh blood to the judiciary of Ukraine. So what would be the two key things, two priorities that you would like to introduce in this selection that would be an effective tool for selecting new judges that would be people of integrity? Thank you for your question. Well, first of all, it's really important to me. We are talking about the new selection, right? Yes, sure. We are talking about the new selection, and that will be the process to be conducted by all the members of the HQCJ. Well, for me, of importance is whether the person knows the process or not. A lot depends on the very process. A person may know the norms of substantive law, but if the person is not aware of the very process, it's inadmissible, because it's much easier to appeal the norms of substantive law, but this person would not contribute to any developments. And of importance for me are the moral and ethical principles of a person. Thank you, Oleh. Let me give the floor to my other colleagues.
Thank you. Professor, you remember maybe that you wrote the motivation letter? Yes?
Yeah, sure I do. Sure I do.
I shall read to you what it says on the point 5. It says, in translation, there is no information related to specific issues that may cause concern about my declared income, sources of property, the standard of living of me and my family in comparison with my income and my lifestyle, which requires prompt refutation, explanation, or clarification. Can you please tell me whether this statement is true and correct?
Thank you for the question. Yes, I consider that this statement was correct and is correct. And the mistakes that have been made were the mistakes related to the fact that I didn't know some of the things, and that's why I didn't indicate them in the declaration. But all the property I possess was mentioned in the declaration, and that's what I've written about. Thank you.
Can you understand that I get the idea that this statement is not correct?
Неправдиве твердження, що
Not correct. Why? Because I did not indicate the value of the property that has been presented to me as a gift, just for me to understand.
в мене вказане все майно.
Yes, among others. The car,
Я прошу
property.
пробачення.
Well, I'm sorry for that, but let me address the whole commission once again. That was done not by purpose, not on purpose. That was done because I didn't have the information and that I need to do this. And, you know, everybody had to fill the declarations back then, but nobody was shown the way it should be done in the correct way. Now, I mean higher educational institutions. I mean the declarations that are to be filled, but when you have to address somebody is asking, how do you do this? How do you fill it? They just say, okay, please, you see it's written there in the declaration, fill it. But they don't explain the principles of filling the declarations.
Okay. Thank you for your answer. I'm reading from the documents available to me that you have a brother, Ihor, and he's an entrepreneur who participates in public procurement of the Admiral Makarov National University of Shipbuilding. And I see that he won 19 contracts from the university. Are you aware of that?
Дякую за запитання.
Thank you for the question. Well, definitely I do know about this. And let me tell you more. This was done by Ihor because it's his right as the right of the entrepreneur. He has some relationship with the university. He's paying taxes and he's the head of some, director of some legal entities. He's a private entrepreneur. He's a PhD. It's his right. But let me draw your attention to the following. All those contracts were concluded before I became the vice rector of this university. As the dean of the faculty who ensures the academic process, I didn't even resort to my brother or to any counterarrangements he has. I just saw the way it was happening. You have one of the contracts for September or August 2018, and let me draw your attention once again to the fact that I've been the vice rector of the university since 2018, since the 12th of October. And all the counteragents and all the parties were, well, changed, and we used to have different vice rectors. Somebody is dismissed, somebody new comes to the position. So I was not inquiring from my brother what he was doing back then and who the counterparty was, what he sold, what he bought. I was not that much interested in that because he has a wife and his family. His wife is also a businesswoman. He has a daughter. They have their own life. I have my own life. Of course, I love and respect him as my brother, but I didn't go into that much detail while talking about this with him.
Well, I read here, and I have no idea whether it is true, but that 9 of those procurements took place when you were the vice dean, and they were procured after 12 October 2018. And I have the contract here in front of me.
Well, if I could still provide some explanations. Starting with the point of time when I became the vice rector, I started looking through all our contracts and through looking at all our counterparties. And back then, the range of my duties did not include examination of any contracts related to construction, to repairing, and other things like that. We had a vice rector who was dealing with such issues, with such contracts. When I came to know that my brother was a counterparty of the National University of Shipbuilding, I had a meeting with him and asked him to stop being the counterparty of our university. And since that time, he has stopped being the counterparty of our university.
Okay, thank you. I think I will pass to my colleague, Stephen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Broekhuizen. Professor Dubynskyi, thank you for your participation in this competition. We appreciate it very much. As I look at your record, I do not see much history of involvement with efforts in judicial reform, and for that reason, I need to ask you some questions concerning this. You say, of course, I think thoughtful statements when you say that the judiciary must be fair and virtuous with a high level of trust and professionalism. Is that correct?
Yes, sure.
What I'm a little bit less clear on is what accounts for the lack of those qualities today. And that seems to be accepted by many people that the judiciary is falling short of that. But as I read your statement, I see a lot of references to the media and media coverage and the shortages of media coverage and what they have failed to do. I see, for example, references to the fact that issues of integrity and judicial professionalism are not being communicated properly, and that the activities of a small number of judges are being covered badly by the media, and that direct communication between judges and society may be necessary for building trust, and that clarity and increasing citizens' awareness of what the judiciary is doing is necessary, and that there must be what you call mandatory discussions of the role of the mass media in judicial races. What is the principal problem as you see it? What should the High Qualifications Commission be focused on? Is the media the problem, or is there some better argument that the judiciary and the people on the judiciary are the problem?
Thank you for the question. The High Qualifications Commission of Judges of Ukraine, as I think, should focus on launching its operation and doing or performing the main function it has, which is staff provision. I've got the following statement, which I keep promoting all the time. We all go to courts. Legal entities, individuals, but for some reason, when somebody is dissatisfied with the judicial decision, everybody keeps writing about that, in particular in media. But when there is a very important and a very good decision of the judiciary, everybody keeps silent about that. I don't understand why this happens. So I think that everything that happens in our life should have two sides. The first side is, yes, maybe there are some decisions that, and it's true, in the judiciary, and I know some such decisions which are probably not quite good, that are unjust, that are illegal. And somebody may claim that the judiciary cannot be trusted because of such decisions. But I'm sure that there is a trust in the judiciary. Were it not available, people would not be going to courts. But if people keep going to courts, it means that they still do trust the judiciary. Whether the level of trust is high or not, that's another issue. But anyway, there is some trust in the judiciary. And if somebody disagrees with the decision of the judge, they can address the High Council of Justice. Why not? I hope it will start working, fully working. This is the Commission of Inspectors who will be checking these addresses made by people. And this is quite a normal phenomenon. People must have the right to give claims if they think that, let's say, the procedure, the process has been violated in the courtroom. And then this will also improve the level of trust. But I cannot tell that the trust is not there at all. I think that we lack this media, I don't know what to call it, cooperation with the media, because the judiciary is not conveying its important messages to people, the information about the important decisions that are passed, the mandatory and binding decisions that are passed. And it does not say what the gaps in the legislation are due to which a judge cannot pass the absolutely legal decision, absolutely right decision, because there are still some gaps in the legislation. The judge passes a decision in the name of the law, but taking the legislation as the basis. And the judge always has to act on the basis of laws. But if there are some gaps, well, that's true. And we cannot say that all judges are always wrong. So there are a lot of challenges, but we need to convey the messages about important things to people. But for some reason, in our media, only negative things are covered. I don't know why it happens so. I'm not an expert in media space, but I think that positive things should always be conveyed to the notice of the society. And definitely we do have positive things in the judiciary. And the reform is going on, and we should also discuss this in media. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Professor. I think about the American political experience, and every 2 years we have elections, and there's a winning side and a losing side, of course, and the losing side typically says the American people did not understand our message. And then 2 years later, the other side may lose, and they will say the people just didn't get our message. Isn't it possible sometimes that the message was gotten by the people, but they just didn't like the message? You're certainly right that there are many fine judges on the Ukrainian judiciary. There's no question. I think we have 3 of them sitting around the table here. There are a great many fine judges. But when I see the polling and when I see the attitudes of the Ukrainian people, I also see a very, very high degree of dissatisfaction with the judiciary, and I'm hard-pressed to think that's entirely attributable to the media. Is there some more fundamental, some more institutional problem that you, as a thoughtful academic, might think need to be focused upon by the High Qualifications Commission as well?
Thank you for the question. I believe that at the moment, the most serious problem that we are having is that we are having trial courts with more than 2,500 vacancies. We have appellate courts that cannot be functioning to their full capacity for 60%. So I'm from Mykolaiv, and we have an appellate court here. And we only have 3 judges in this appellate court that are part of the criminal chamber. And if one of them gets sick or is on vacation, nobody can hear cases connected to crimes, etc. I know about the situation in Sumy. They don't even have judges that can hear criminal cases. So my opinion is that the priority task is to start working and to do the best that you can, everything that depends on you, so that these issues can be solved. And it's quite easy to do. I was interested in the work of the previous HQCJ, and my opinion is that they were quite good. They did what they could. They worked to the best of their ability. And today, the question is that all of the reforms, that everything that is being done should be sped up. The slower we are, the worse the result will be. That is why I'm saying that we should be doing everything quickly. So I was looking at the work of the previous HQCJ. It was the year 2017. People started writing petitions. People wanted to have the opportunity to be trained at the National School of Judges. They wanted to sit the exams. So they wanted to submit their applications sometime in the spring. And then in October, they already participate in the selection exam. Then another 6 months go by. The person completes the qualification assessment or the inspection. And then sometime in August, September, they start their training at the National School of Judges. They train there for 9 months. But those who are assistant judges study there for 3 months, and then they pass their qualification exam. So first the selection exam, then the qualification exam. Then another 2 months go by, or a month and a half, and this person sits a written exam. So they write either a judgment or a conviction, and that's all, and people stop here. So if we look at the duration starting from spring of 2017 up until autumn of 2019, basically, that's a very extended timeline. This is my personal opinion. And I think this is something that is interfering with the quality of our work. And doing our work in a quality way means that we are doing it quickly and in a way that follows the existing methodology, the existing regulations, the existing plans. I do have all the plans of the National School of Judges. I've studied all of them. I was really interested in that. So I was thinking about ways in which we could shorten the duration of training, the things that we could focus on. I'm not saying that I have some great results in here, but I do have some suggestions that I can share. For a long time, I've been working on large teams. And before I express any ideas, I do consider them, I do discuss these ideas with my colleagues. HQCJ is a collegial body, and everybody who will be appointed as member should understand that you have your opinion and you need to talk this opinion through with your colleagues. You will not be having good or bad colleagues, because everybody will have their own opinion, and you will have to reach some kind of compromise, some kind of consensus. And you will have to work, work, and work in order to be able to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Let me just ask you one quick final question right now, and it's one I've asked a number of people who have academic backgrounds such as yours. You've written more than 60 articles and reports, as I understand it. Is there any that you would seek to call to the attention of your colleagues on the High Qualifications Commission on the first day of office and say, this is something that I've written that I think is really important for you to read and to understand? Something that's relevant, obviously, to the work of the High Qualifications Commission.
Yes, I can recommend a paper like that. Thank you for the question. I have a number of academic papers published, and if we calculate them, I've already published almost 100 papers. But let me tell you the way it is. Scholars and scientists participate in conferences, they publish academic papers, they express their ideas. Some of those papers may be really useful, while others are those papers that we have to publish just for the very reason that we are being scientists and scholars. Well, maybe you feel that you are not inspired, you cannot write anything of value, but you can write something that could be published. So I'm saying that not all papers are the best. In 2022, there was this journal published, the journal Public and Private Law, and there I wrote an article about education, the role of education under the circumstances of establishing information society. So we are all currently experiencing the establishment of information society. I decided to pay my attention to education because that is something that I consider to be closer to my interest. I was also writing papers about administrative oversight. That is also really interesting. And there's also the journal Legal Stance, where I published my paper back in 2021. I do have many interesting papers which I wrote in 2022 with the view to the situation happening in the country. And I need to tell you that Mykolaiv has suffered a lot from the full-scale invasion of the Russian Federation. And my university has suffered a lot. And the main building has been damaged by a missile attack. And we were doing our best to try and repair and restore the facilities. We have our base in Ochakiv that's been damaged as well. And we are hit by missiles from morning till night. And that is something that I'm also responsible for. That is within my mandate. So I have to travel. We are trying to work on restoring, repairing the facilities. And I can tell you that the year 2022 was a landmark year for us in a way, because it will change our view of the world. People will have a different understanding of the world. So we are living under these circumstances. So that's what it is.
Thank you for explaining that. Obviously, I think we all understand that that is the number one priority of any institution in Ukraine. Thank you very much, Professor.
Dear Oleh, in continuation of the questions about the activities of HQCJ, I have a follow-up question. So in your motivational letter, you are saying that the process of appointing judges should be as transparent as possible. We need to publish information about these people in media. We also need to have a public discussion on the territory where the judge plans to work. Did I understand it correctly? So are you suggesting that a candidate judge be appointed by a certain territory where they are planning to work? What do you mean by this? Thank you for the question. Why not? I believe that a candidate judge can be assigned to a specific territory. I think this will help us solve many questions, many issues that the candidates face. For instance, they may be living in the city of Kherson, and then they are appointed to a trial court in the city of Dnipro. And they find themselves in this difficult situation. They have no apartment, they need to commute. Maybe they want to meet with their friends and relatives, plus they want to see their family members. There are a number of issues. I'm not saying that this is the correct solution, but this is an idea that I'm having. I do believe that this will help us solve a number of issues. This has nothing to do with the Supreme Court, of course, or the appellate courts. I'm talking solely about trial courts. Because a person who is appointed as a judge may be traveling to a different region.
Напевно, пропав зв'язок.
It appears that we
Окей.
Oh, good.
Пане Євген, пане Олеже, ви закінчили?
Dear Oleg, are you done answering my question? No, if I may, just one more minute. Yes, yes, you're welcome.
Є таке поняття, як матеріальне забезпечення.
So we have this concept of material support. So if we are talking about resuming of the work, we are talking about lack of professional judges, we need to fill in the vacancies that we are having. And I think that the priority should be to fill in the vacancies. But if we understand that a person should travel to a different region, let's say, we need to also understand that this person will require some additional material support from us. For instance, they will need somewhere to live. That is why my idea applies only to trial courts. I'm not talking about the Supreme Court and the appellate courts. So this is my idea. I understand what your idea is about. Thank you. Now I'm passing the floor to our chair.
Наша співбесіда добігає.
So our interview is coming to an end.
Будь ласка, комісія надає вам
The Commission is giving you an opportunity to summarize everything that you've told us, and should you like to add any important information, maybe
вам хотілося б
you wanted to add something during the interview, maybe like to draw our attention to some of your ideas, please. You will have between 2 and 3 minutes for concluding remarks. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Well, first of all, I'd like to address all the commissioners to express my gratitude. I understand how difficult it is. It's a great work that you are currently doing, so thanks a lot to you for that. Thank you for this opportunity to be interviewed by you. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for giving me the platform to express some of my ideas. I would like to wish all of us to be able to work for the benefit of Ukraine, so that we can do everything for the benefit of our country. Thank you.
дякуємо, пане Олеже.
Thank you, Oleh.
На цьому співбесіда завершена.
This is the end of the interview. Thank you for participation. Best of luck to you. Take care. Goodbye. Thank you. Goodbye.